order. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Justice.
for all.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize Dickinson. I didn't realize.
So the first item up on the agenda would be the consideration of approval of the special meeting minutes for December 27th, 2021. I believe that was our makeup to the original special meeting. And I believe everybody got a copy of those. So I make a motion that to approve the minutes for the December 27, 21 meeting. Seconded by Rich. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I would say motion passes. Then next up would be the consideration and the discussion of the fiscal year 2022-23 budgets for Bethel and Stony Hill Fire Departments. So how would we like to go about doing this? Do we want to have Chief present the budget, Chief McCollum present his first, and then we'll go through it line by line and discuss it, and then we'll go with you. Is that all right, Chief Baker?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so,
Chris, can you take the mask off?
all right, as long as you guys are okay with that, I'd like to.
Yeah. it
That'd
was
be
fun
great.
presenting, right?
Okay, so Count 310. I'm proposing a 36.69% increase in the operating budget of the fire department for fiscal year 2022-2023. This increase is the product of way too many years of minor increases or flat status quo requests, going on 2 years of COVID. Last year, our vendors held the line on pricing. Unfortunately, that is not the case in year 2 of COVID. All products in the fire service are seeing increased costs. Bunker gear has increased 12% already, with another 10+% increase expected in March. There will also be increases to goods and services across the board. Therefore, I have adjusted all the accounts upward to prepare for this. I know this is a large increase for the taxpayers to swallow. I am one of those taxpayers, and I believe it is absolutely necessary to increase spending to provide our volunteers with the training and equipment needed to keep our fellow Bethelites safe. And thank you for taking the time to consider this proposal. So, go to the second page, account 202, equipment and supplies. I did 3 lines at the current amount in the budget, the proposed amount, and the percentage increase. So equipment and supplies is currently at 74,000. I increased that to 104,000, 41% increase. Do you want me to go down through the line items in that first, or do you want me to?
You want to explain, unfortunately, we don't have, like Stony Hill had last year's.
It's a flat budget from last year.
Yeah, but for the equipment and supplies, did you have a list of details?
Can you give us a rundown on what that would include?
Yeah, it's right here. I mean, I can tell you what that's included.
Got a hand up on that Zoom.
Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, one thing is, as we're going through this, one thing that jumped at me, right? Both departments are handling these line items differently. Even turnout gear is categorized differently. And I think sort of as a commission, we should be presenting one document that shows all the lines considered together for both departments, right? So separate columns for each department, but the same line items addressed in the same fashion.
Same descriptions.
Yep.
Yep.
And I have a spreadsheet sort of sample of what I'm trying to say. If I can screen share that, or I can email it to the participants when we're done. But basically, looking at each department for what was presented, what was budgeted in 21, amount spent, percentage spent, percent of the year that's gone, so you can see what the run rate is to see what each line item looks like. And then
Doug, sorry to, can you hear me? Sorry to interrupt. I just made you a co-host if you want to put that up.
Okay. So I just grabbed one line item, 202 equipment and supplies, and then the breakout below that, turnout gear. So for instance, here Stony Hills in the first section, the 2021 budget, the year-to-date spend, percent of spent. Actually, this spreadsheet up at the top calculates the amount of year gone by, 56.7% as of today. And these are just, this is fictitious. I just guessed. The 2022 request, and then the percent increase. And then the same columns for Bethel. And then collectively, when we show this to the Board of Finance, it looks like everybody's talking about the same stuff.
Agree.
And I think, one thing, Chief McCollum, he considered thermal imaging, which Stony Hill did not consider thermal imaging. So, I think there's room for consolidating and making a nice, clear message.
Could we maybe take the time in this meeting to, instead of just having Chris present his and then John present his, maybe they do a joint presentation and we take this line item by line item, and Doug could go ahead and build on the spreadsheet as we're doing this and kind of get an idea.
You guys okay
And
with that?
have,
You don't want to watch me type. That's a problem.
well, I'm not trying to like put you on the spot, but just,
How about if we do this, if we present it and we all collectively kind of, put our 2 cents in, and then Doug, can we do this? Can we put this together to present to the Board of Finance?
Yeah. What's our deadline on this? When do they need it?
The 8th of February.
Oh, okay.
you're gonna need to present this to Matt and Brad before the 8th.
Yeah.
But you'll present it to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance on February 8th.
Okay.
Okay. And some of this, like year-to-date spend, we're not going to have tonight. That's something we're going to have to go back and find.
So
Okay. So we'll go through it here, and then you and I will work together. We'll get together so it's a little more organized for the presentation to the Board of Selectmen.
Sounds great.
So what are we planning on accomplishing tonight? Just going through line by line and seeing who addressed what and how much each department wants to spend on that particular line item?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think, I'm sure there's questions of what we're spending and why, correct? Did everybody review the budget so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Roger.
Do we want to ask those as we're going through them right now, each one, and then we'll?
As I said, if you want me to, we're at 2
I think I'd rather-
two and then.
Personally, I'd rather hear him present his whole budget, and then if we can go back and ask questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Works for me. All right.
So
we'll
we're
do
on
that.
account 202.
Okay.
Okay, so the Scott 83,000 high temp face masks with the carry pouches. That's 25 masks. Those will replace the current masks we have. These are the high temp masks that we don't have right now. They're also in their own carry pouch, and I could issue them to each firefighter, especially in the age of COVID. I think this is probably the way to go. The trucks will still have masks on them, but everyone will have their own personal mask. I still have my own personal mask from years ago when we used to do that. Why that ended, I don't know. I think it was a great thing because you have your own mask and it's yours. Nobody else is using it. You're responsible for keeping it clean and keeping it in working order. If it's not, you gotta let somebody know so we can take care of it.
Okay.
Sure. This is an example of something Chief Baker did not address.
No, we have high temp masks on each air pack, and after each use, they get deconned and they're considered clean and sanitized, ready for the next use in your bag on the apparatus. So it's at that cost.
My next line is for the prescription lens holders for the masks. Any of us that wear glasses like myself, I have lenses that pop into this mask, and you take them to your own optometrist and get your lenses made up for them. And I have parameters established with that at the FD that they have to be certain lenses like polycarbonate lenses, nothing really special. you're wearing them in an air mask. So they're polycarbonate lenses, anti-glare with their prescription. Okay. The Scott Pack Tracker, complete with the 12-volt charger. These track all the air packs. This is, moving forward with technology. Like to get these 4 units, which will put them on the rigs, so that when you're at an incident, you can track all the air packs. And the air packs have that in them. When you get the air pack, you have to tell them you want that turned on. So for example, the 12 new air packs we're getting, that will be turned on in those when they're delivered. Otherwise, it's an extra charge to turn them on after. Various size blades and chains for saws as needed. They're of course carbide tipped. They're all specialty blades and chains. So we put $1,500 in there. Some years you use it, some years you don't. You really don't know. It's that 12-month span. You don't know what you're going to be doing. Sometimes, the bear gets you and sometimes you get the bear. Thermo Fisher Red-Eye, the radiation detector. Currently, we don't have any. I don't believe you have any either, Chief, right? I believe the only one is, and Tom Gallagher could probably speak to that, I believe the fire marshal has it. It used to be with the PD and nobody knew where it was. So I'd like to have one that's mobile on a rig downtown here. I think for $2,200, it's well worth it. The amount of commerce that comes through the town of Bethel on a whole and through downtown Bethel, I think that's something we should have. The 2 MSA Altair meters, they're 5 gas meters. Currently, we have 4 gas meters. This gives us the capability for a 5th read on a meter. After a fire, you're checking for certain gases in the structure to make sure that it's safe for guys and gals to be there without wearing SCBA.
Where SCBA is, go on.
Typically, yes. Thermal imaging cameras, like to replace 2 older units. These units won't go away. We'll use them for training and what have you, but I'd like to replace 2 older ones on the rigs. The small thermal imaging cameras, we currently don't have any. I'd like to get 2 that are for officers. Specifically, one would be in the Tahoe and one would probably be in the Expedition. So typically, I'm going to be outside anyway, so an officer gets there, I can tell them, take that and use that one, because the ones on the truck by then are probably going to be in use already. The 5-inch stored Siamese is used during tanker operations. It's a valuable thing for $1,550. I believe you have one out in Stony Hill, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
We have none downtown. We'd like to have just one, so that both departments have one.
Can't you just get that at the next mutual aid call?
Yeah, well, that would be nice. We actually borrowed Stony Hills for a small drill we did to see if there was a draft site that we thought was viable for drafting, and the site was, but we had to borrow Stony Hills because we don't have one. Station wear uniform clothing, that is just, I brought some with me so you can see. It's just t-shirts, some of which we buy ourselves as fundraisers, like when you get a new truck. Like this was engine 6. The department sells that as a fundraiser, and some of them, like this, I would get out of that small amount in the town budget. We keep them in stock for when new members walk in the door. Okay. Along with ball caps, this is one style of ball cap. We have several styles of ball caps, so they can pick the ball cap they'd like to wear. Knit hat, same thing, just have the fire department on it, just so everybody can have a knit cap for the colder weather. And like this one here was a fundraiser for St. Patty's Day that the department did. It's just variant shirts. This is the kind of stuff we buy with it. We're not buying uniforms or station wear. We're buying, I should have labeled it differently. We're buying t-shirts, caps, and knit hats for the members when they walk in the door so that they actually feel like they belong. Okay, the next one, the big one. I came to you gentlemen earlier about 14 sets of firefighting. It's obviously gone up. You see the price. Now, the way I label out my gear is the same way I labeled it out to you gentlemen earlier when I did the request. To all of you, to the Board of Selectmen, and to the Board of Finance. It's a helmet and a helmet front, a hood, which the hoods aren't cheap. It's a little over $100 a hood. They're one of the best hoods on the market to hopefully prevent cancer. That's why I like to buy that hood. Boots, gloves, harness, suspenders, coat, and pants. So right now they're approximately $3,800 per set. It's 8 sets. It's $30,400. And there's typically gear in the budget every year. It's typically been 6. We talked about it. I talked with Chief Baker about it. He's typically at 8. So I said, you know what? I'll go up to 8 so that we don't have to come back in a couple of years and say, hey, I need 14 or 20 sets again. And try and space it out a little bit so it's more palatable when we have to replace it, because of course that only has a 10-year lifespan. And that's dictated to us. That's not something that we decide.
This is one of those line items that should be handled the same way between both departments. Chief Baker handled it slightly differently, but we can
IRAM 2
homogenize that.
opening. We have several units now on the rigs. I'd like to get 2 more so that I have one on each rig. It's a small unit that pops open doors, steel case doors. Thing works great. Replacement of the rope equipment, including rope, harnesses, and all the hardware. Refab rope for probably 30 plus years now. I was on the original rope team when we first started. It's over 30 years now. We've replaced it once before. This would be replacing it again. You take the current equipment you have and the rope you have and you downgrade it, and you're able to use the rope for utility rope, and you cut it into lengths, and you use it to teach knots when you're teaching ropes and knots. Each individual student gets a length of rope to use. Okay, it's the same thing with some of the equipment. You're able to take like the carabiners that you downgrade and use those for other things, just not for rope operations. So it's not going to be thrown out. It's going to continue to be used, just not the same way. Replacement of Firehouse of various sizes. I put that in because we have a bunch of hose that's now 20 years or 20 plus years old. I also had some tested last year that they couldn't find a date on. So it's time to replace that hose. That actually will bring us very good for the future for like the next probably 10 to 15 years. We'll only be looking at, maybe replacing a couple links if they get punctured or broken or whatever. 3% National Green Synthetic Fluorine-Free Foam. 10 5-gallon pails. I put this in here because we currently have 6 on the floor at the firehouse. The problem is Squad 5 has 40 gallons of foam in it that's got to go to deep when they finally tell us we can bring it to deep, which they told us it's going to be Old Saybrook. So we're going to have to drive it there. Safe Harbors is going to pump the foam out, clean the foam tank in the truck, verify it's clean, and then send it back to us very kindly, empty. So we have to buy the foam because I'm going to be putting 8 pails back in the truck. And we need to have some on the floor because if you use some, you want to be able to refill that when you come back. We had a truck fire where we used, 40 gallons, 45 gallons. So you want to be able to refill that when you come back. Repair and replace hand tools. I put a minimal amount in there for that. Just if something gets damaged or broken that we can repair. If we can't repair it, then we have to replace it. There's a contingency there of $4,000, just because, like I said, none of us know where the prices are gonna go with this equipment. I don't know. I mean, I leave that up to you gentlemen to decide if that should stay there or not. I put it there, and that's why I put it there. So that's account 202 at $104,000. Okay. Then you have account 207, which is firehouse maintenance. It's currently $18,500. I raised it 27% to $23,500. Under this account, we have the annual kitchen hood cleaning, regular kitchen cleaning, floor cleaning and waxing of all the tile surfaces. I upped that because it's been done twice a year. It's not enough. There's a lot of tile in that building. It needs to be stripped off, cleaned, stripped off, and waxed more than twice a year. You know, it's a public building. I'm trying to keep it clean and keep the tile in good shape so that we're not replacing tile, which I really don't want to do. Building repair and cleaning, $10,500. Put a minimal amount in there of $1,500 for pest control. We've had a little bit of that, not much, so I just put a minimal amount in there. Office supplies, $1,950. That's for any office supplies, you know, like the paper I'm able to get down here in the mailroom. They let us come in and take reams of paper. Primal vent, annual cleaning and service. Somehow that got dropped out of the budget several years ago before I took over. We realized that this year, so I put it back in there because it's an expensive system. I can't remember, was that installed under YouTube?
No, Chief Home.
It was installed under Chief Home right before. Right, and yeah, that was done with a grant, and it's quite the system, and we got to maintain it. Because if you don't maintain it, something breaks. It's very expensive, and with the service contract, they come down, they check everything. I will provide you with the list. I meant to bring the list tonight. I was very impressed with the list of what they check. And if they have to replace something, there is a 6% discount because we have a service contract. Without the service contract, there's no discount.
So the 2,000 is the cost of the contract?
That's correct. Yep. So 208, vehicle maintenance. So that account was at 75,000, or I'm sorry, was it 55,000, 100. I believe it was 100. Yeah, a couple pages back. 55,150. I upped it to 75,250, 36% increase. Okay, so we have annual testing of apparatus and pumps, and then I listed the vehicles that are getting tested: the truck, the rescue, the tanker, the squad, the engine, the utility, and all three vehicles that are used by myself and the other officers. I believe Stony has 3 also, right? You have
Jeep
1,
truck,
and
and
there's
then
2
we got
others,
one.
right? And that's what we have. It's the same thing. You'll see in my capital that I presented to Brad earlier this year that I'm looking to get rid of 2 for 1, unless 3 vehicles in the future.
Okay.
So that comes to 27,644, and then we continue. I listed out several things just so that you see the annual stuff and surface, which is that's separate. That's besides what's done to it for the regular testing. Okay, that's the way it's always been done. So if we don't need to do that and you don't want to do that, that's fine. I'm checking right now to see if they mirror each other or if there's something different there. Okay. Engine 6, the 3-year brake check. That's a mandated thing every 3 years. You send the truck out, they got to take the tires off it. They pull it all apart. They inspect it. Take pictures of it to document it. If everything's fine, they put it back together. It's $250 a wheel. So hence the $1,000 because you got the fronts and the rears. Okay. Like the tanker was more, the truck was more because you got an extra axle. Okay. The others were all done last year when I first took over as chief. I made sure they all got done. Squad 5, the 7-year tire replacement. It's coming due in July. put the money in there for that. Bellardinelli typically does that. Tires for us, it's all a government bid. So, you know, I talked to him about what I should allow for that. And if it's cheaper, that's great. But we know for sure that that should be funded. Various repairs throughout the year. This includes tires and rims. We had an instance a couple years ago before I took over, where unfortunately a tire and rim got destroyed at a call. You know, that's not something you expect to happen. And it costs money. It's a road service. It's, you know, get it back to the station and then find another rim and get a new tire for it. So that's also for other repairs to any of the rigs throughout the year. Something happens to something, there's money there. Again, that's up to you gentlemen if you don't want to have that amount there. I put it in there and just explain to you tonight why it's there.
Okay.
Annual testing of hose, nozzles, ground ladders, and aerial ladder. That's a hard number. I already got the paperwork from them. Okay, these are things that have to be done every year.
Yep.
Got no choice.
That's for everything you have right there.
That's for that stuff I just mentioned, yes. The hose testing, nozzles, ground ladders, and the aerial ladder.
Okay.
Yep. Annual SCBA flow testing and the service. Annual HRSA equipment testing and service. Annual service and inspection of all the extinguishers. That's all the extinguishers in the building and in all the rigs. He comes and does everything. Okay. Air compressor service, testing and air sampling. He comes twice a year. I was talking with Commissioner Ingram yesterday about it. And it's approximately $1,300. And then there's another $600 charge during the year, which is the other 2 quarters. Commissioner Ingram and I were talking about it, whether it's every 6 months or every quarter. It's every quarter he comes and tests, but twice a year he comes and actually services the equipment. So that's why that number is there. And that's the 600 added to the.
So that includes
That includes everything. That's correct. And this is a guy that's air compressor engineering. He's been doing it forever. I believe he does Stony Hill also. Okay. And I left the $5,000 contingency there. Again, same thing. That's prices fluctuate wildly. We know they're going to go up. And again, that's up to you gentlemen to decide what you want to do. I understand, you know, you may want to take that out and I come back to you later if I have to and explain to you why I need it. You know, we go from there. I understand everybody's trying to keep budgets down. Account 301, which is dues and education. 21,000 has been the norm for many years. It's not enough. I raised it to 28,000, and that's 33% increase. You know, none of our people on the fire side get to go to a conference because I don't have the money. On the company side, BDFD is paying for that, for our EMS people to go, which they should be able to go. It's very important, I think, for me to be able to get the firefighters to go to the FDIC if they want to go, and to these other conferences if they want to go. You know, parameters established that they're going to go and they're going to take classes, they're going to show me they did something there. It wasn't just to go hang out. Okay. Fire school live burns with additional training. There's 8 dates we've made now throughout the year at approximately $550 each. And that includes renting the facility and pay for personnel and supplies. Supplies typically are like the hay. You got to pay for the bales of hay you use. Okay. You have to pay for any personnel they're supplying at the fire school. You pay their salary while you're there. Okay. There's a charge for that. Various courses throughout the year and attendance at conferences is the other 22,000, and then snacks and drinks at fire school with lunch typically back at the station. I put $1,600 in there for that. And again, the total there is $28,000. Okay. The stuff in the last account, 306 professional services, was 14,250. I upped it to 19,250, 35% increase. I broke out what I could of monthly charges that I know of. Comcast business, Wells Fargo Financial, which is, believe it or not, that's the copiers. That's what that is. I didn't know what it was till I asked the comptroller. Annual fee for behavioral healing, the annual fee for emergency reporting, which I'm a little worried about emergency reporting, gentlemen, because they got bought out. And I know the department one town away got hit with a huge bill if they want to stay with them now of $9,000 plus. It's a huge increase. We are actually looking at alternatives also to get away from them if they try and sock us with a big bill.
That's who you use for your reports.
Emergency report, yeah.
Okay.
That's what's used for in-for report, it's
Everything.
used for,
You guys use the
Everything.
same?
we use the
Yeah,
same thing.
same thing.
Okay.
It's got everything in it. Computers and technology services, I put $1,500 in there because if you remember, I came before you.
Yep.
Board of Selectmen to get Nick.
Yep.
Catalano.
Yep.
On board. And this is just a little bit put aside in case there's something that goes on throughout the year that's not covered.
Okay.
That's there. Anything bigger than that, I would come back to you gentlemen and say, look, this is what's going on. Bring Nick with me to explain it, so he'll be able to explain it better, and this is what we need to do. The OSHA compliant physicals, that's there every year. It fluctuates because we're changing the model on how we're getting it done.
Okay.
But they're all fully compliant. Okay, so like if somebody has a DOT physical, there's really no reason if they have a valid DOT physical for me to be making them go and taking money out of the taxpayer budget to get a redundant physical. But what I need to do is make them go and do their freedom.
I was gonna say, you guys require
The
for
spirometry.
yearly or?
Annually.
For
Yes, it's
everybody
annual.
the same?
Depends on the age.
I was gonna say, or is it
The
based on age?
spirometry is annually, and it depends on age, and also depends on the level of it depends on if you're a smoker or a non-smoker.
How about we make all the members?
But that is
non-smokers?
annual.
Maybe it's time to institute that.
I'm sorry.
I said all new members are not smokers.
Oh, well, listen, I pushed for years for everybody walking in the door to get a full, complete physical, including a stress test, and that kind of went nowhere. I mean, I know they're expensive, but you might find something in somebody that
Yeah.
saves their life, right?
Yeah.
So the current budget is 182,900, which is a flat budget from last year. That's the budget I inherited. I didn't mess with it. We're in the throes of COVID. I believe Chief Baker did the same thing, and he stayed flat because we were asked to. I raised it this year 36.69%. You know, I feel that it's reasonable for what the both departments provide. You know, under $500,000 for both departments for equipment and supplies and all these other things, compared to a career department that's going to cost the town of Bethel, you know, $5-6 million just to start it up. You know, I don't know what else to say. I mean, our bond rating is great. We have 2.9 million that just came in ARPA funds. There's more money coming. And, you know, as much as I hate to raise the budget because I am a taxpayer, I think it's valid. Okay, you got any questions on any of
I
these
think
accounts?
we'll go through each one and
Sure.
everybody can ask their questions. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You on board up there? Okay. So we will start with the account 202, equipment and supplies, the Scott mats. So I'll start real quick. I wanted to ask, so you currently, you don't have your own mask, everybody, you have masks on the rig?
I do.
No.
Several people have them.
Yeah.
Typically, it's just on the rig.
So how does it work, and this is just me asking a question, on the like face or fit test?
You gotta find the right masks. Typically, on the rigs, we use the medium masks,
Okay.
which hopefully fit everybody, but you're right, there could be an instance where somebody needs a smaller or large.
Okay, so 25 units, who does that cover? How many,
That'll cover 25 green tag firefighters right away.
is that, and how many green tag firefighters do you have now?
Oh,
like 30 something.
no, we're more than that.
We'll have probably about, because we've got some testing through right now. this weekend.
Yeah.
That'll add another 5 to it, so it's probably upwards of 40 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe it was 45, and then we're gonna be adding to that.
So
So
I
we're gonna
guess
be up over 50.
My question would be, how do you plan on distributing? Who's gonna get their own mask? You got some-
I've been doing it by seniority
Okay.
and making calls. If you're making calls,
Okay.
you're getting a mask. If you're not making calls,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you could be the most senior person in the department. If you're not making calls, you're not getting a mask in the first round anyways. You're not gonna get one.
No, I agree.
Because it's gotta be the guys and gals that come out all the time for the calls that have the best masks.
Yeah, I don't want to see somebody get a mask and sit in their car or something.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
Questions? We'll start with Peter. Questions on those?
Not on that specifically, no.
Okay. Doug, any questions on the mask?
Not specifically related to buying masks, but I think, policy wide, the department should share a policy on how they're doing this.
These are on New York State bid through a company that I don't want to mention on the air, but through a company that has a large volume. I don't think we're gonna honestly
I'm not-
find.
I'm not concerned about the price. I'm not speaking to the price. I'm speaking to the policy of how you're handling personal masks and how Stony Hill is doing it differently. I think the department should share a policy. My inclination would be that everyone within limits, obviously if you're not going to calls, you don't get one, but everyone within limits should have their own mask.
And I agree with that, but this is, like I said, this is all of us now finally feeling through the way it's gotta be, because we need direction from you 5 gentlemen with policies set that then we can follow, because I have no problem following any policy that's there on paper for me to follow. That makes my life a lot easier, actually. It really does.
Yeah, because listen, I'm all for the personal mask. I think that's a big thing. Like I said, I'm afraid of it sitting in a car, not getting
Right.
used. And I think it should be shared through both departments. You have guys
Yep.
that go, they should have their own mask too, especially, same thing. I assume you would run a medium mask too.
We have medium masks on every air pack. If you fit test to something other than a medium, then you will be issued your own personal mask.
Okay.
I feel very comfortable having that mask with me, but I know I have my own mask.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I just feel like it's something that you should take care of yourself and have yourself.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially now, like I said, in the age of what's going on now,
Right.
you can sanitize it all you want and think it's done, and maybe it's not. And then the next guy puts it on and the next guy ends up with COVID.
I only question, the long-term cost of issuing everybody their own personal mask, and then also keeping a mask attached to each air pack in the apparatus. It seems like a lot of redundancy.
Yeah,
Large
that's,
expense,
yeah, I personally think we should, if you're gonna go that route, we should do the personal mask and then not have them on the rig.
I'm fine with that too, except you're gonna have to have a couple on the rig.
Yes.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have people that forget, because
Yeah.
I'm going to a car accident, I'm not bringing my mask, and then you pick up a job on the way back.
You're gonna have somebody that doesn't have a mask.
Right, I would be fine, if we're going to, go through the expense of, over a period of a couple of years.
Yeah.
Issuing everybody their own personal
Yeah.
mask, so long as we're not also incurring the expense of replacing masks on the apparatus.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly why I only put in 25 this year. Because obviously, there's gonna be more than that, but this is the start, to
Okay.
get it back going the right way.
There also has to be some accountability to it. I know in the past when Bill Valenti was chief, I believe we issued the personal masks and there was no accounting for them. Members came and left and masks never came back.
Yeah,
That I can't speak to.
So I would just, I would like to make sure that there's some accountability for the masks when they're issued.
Well, I think they need to sign for it. It's
Absolutely.
property of the town of Bethel. So they're gonna have to sign for it. It's that simple.
Obviously, you could reissue a mask, right? If somebody.
Sure you could.
Sanitize it.
Yeah, you sanitize it, you make sure it's clean, you could reissue it. That's
Great.
correct.
So if I can get this straight, the air packs have masks on them, but these are an additional personal masks for
Right.
anybody who has
Right,
a problem with it.
right.
Is this an OSHA thing, or is this a department?
This is me talking to you gentlemen saying, I feel as chief of department, we need to issue personal masks. It was that way before. I think we need to get back to it. Like I said, especially in the age of COVID, what's going to be next? What's next year? I mean, hopefully nothing, but we don't know. Don't know.
In the future, when you buy new air packs, would you also order masks with them?
But typically we do, yeah. But if we do that, we could certainly issue them to individual people.
And then my other question, this wasn't in any budget prior to this.
No, not
This line item.
not in recent memory, no.
Well, that was the only thing I had asked in the beginning about the line items. I know you did the total budgets
Mhm.
per line and the increase
Right.
per line, but you didn't show the individual lines. So-
See, typically, most of this stuff is in there, but it was all just lumped in together because you had one lump sum. Then Brad said to us this year, break it all out, which is what Chief Baker and I have done. So you're seeing it a different way.
Yeah.
You're
So,
definitely seeing it a different
Hopefully,
way.
when Doug's doing this spreadsheet, you can delineate that, Doug, that this wasn't in the prior budgets, but it's something new that they're asking for.
Yeah, it'll show up as a 0 for 2021 and it'll have a value for 2022.
Because I'm sure the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance will have questions on
Right. That's why I also priced everything out. You'll see in here. If I had a per unit price, I'd price it out per unit and how many units. So
Yeah.
everybody knows, everybody's on the same page with what's going on.
So in keeping with consistency townwide, Chief Baker, is this something you would look to do in the future?
Well, yeah, if you want to go consistent townwide and go to individualized mass, then I would have to go back and adjust the budget and add in additional mass for each of the green firefighters that I have.
What's that number, Chief Baker?
How many retakes do you have?
Off the top of my head, I would say probably about 20 to 25.
So you'd be looking at about the same number,
Right,
but you cover everybody.
that would cover everybody.
That would cover everybody, so they're doing roughly 50% and not quite.
And what's the process for sanitizing a mask?
It's basically spraying it and wiping it down.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so it's Scott's, right?
I mean, I'm sort of COVID either way, but if it's as simple as wiping it down, I'm not sure everyone needs their own personal mask.
It's quite the process. We have it, when you guys come to Bethel Fire and we walk you around in the truck room, you're gonna be able to see there's stuff that we specifically got, the posters, it's posted on the wall as to how to wash everything. And it is a 3-step process. It's not a simple just wipe it off and walk away. You gotta make sure you're following exactly prompts the way it is posted to make sure that it's sanitized.
No, I agree. We'd like to have it. It's a nice to have.
Quick question. So if someone has their own personal mask, what happens to the mask that's on the air pack right now? They leave it in the truck, or is it
Yeah,
either disconnected,
if-
or?
If Ryan gets on the rig and he's got his own mask, he gets in the seat, he gets in seat position, whatever. He takes the mask off that's there, puts it aside because he's wearing his own mask.
Yeah.
He's not gonna wear that mask. It's gonna stay in
Is
the
there going to
rig.
be a holder for these other extra masks somewhere so they don't get lost
They can-
and damaged?
They can be hanging right there in the bag, Rich, connected to the air pack. I mean, you take it off and it's still in the bag. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
So just to be clear, I mean, this is more of a want, than a need.
To me, it's a safety issue and I think it needs to be done. I really do. We've dealt with COVID for 2 years now. We've been pretty lucky between Bethel and Stony Hill with the amount of people that have contracted it. It's low compared to a lot of other departments. Low.
But is that because we're properly sanitizing the masks?
It's because we've been lucky and careful. I mean, it's just,
No, I just question why you put such a priority on it. Chief Baker didn't seem to put any priority on it.
You know, and another reason I was staying away from it is we add on to each mask that's on the apparatus is a voice amplifier to make clearer communications instead of trying to hear somebody through the regulator and through the mask. So if we got personal masks, it's either get the cost of replacing all of those amplifiers, which are about $800 a piece, or take the time en route to the call, if you remember to take it off the mask that's attached to the apparatus and put it on your personal mask. We can attach brackets to all the new masks as well. It just seems to be another redundancy.
We don't have those. I personally, I don't know if I would spend that kind of money. You're in a fire, it's pretty chaotic to begin with. I know two of you up in the front of the room can understand what I'm saying, definitely, because you've done it. It's dark, it's hot, it's steamy, and a lot of times there's shouting going on. It's not exactly great, but you know, you get the job done. I really didn't concern myself with getting amplified masks. My concern is the high temp masks that we don't have right now. So they're a higher temperature mask for safety and protecting us from things like COVID, where you're issued your own mask and you're responsible for it. And quite frankly, I think everybody should be signing for their bunker gear too. It's an asset of the town of Bethel that we're handing to them. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. All right. So moving along on the lens holders for the 12 units. So do you have 12 people requiring that? Is that why you came up with that number?
I've had 12. I've got about another 5 right now that want them. We had a dozen, and those all went. As soon as they saw several people, including myself, get them and understood what they were and how great they were, because the thinking was, I'm in a fire, I can't see anyways. And I said, well, what about outside? What about you have a mask on outside? Or you're at a hazmat and you got to read something. And they were all like, oh, that's a good idea. And they clip right into the current mask. There's no alteration made to the mask.
Yeah. It
clips into the nose cone. They work great. Like I said, they've all been told polycarbonate lenses, nothing special, just polycarbonate with their prescription and the anti-glare on it, because of course you're looking through plastic. So you want the anti-glare on it. And they work great. You know, it is an OSHA requirement, as Assistant Chief Brewer says, you know, that's something that you have to provide.
So just to clarify.
So I've let everybody know that we will
you
provide them.
have 12 that you need. That's for.
I need 5 right now,
Okay.
and I'd like to have some in stock, so when somebody asks for a pair,
All right.
I can hand them to them right away and get it done. Here you go, go get it done. No excuse, get it done. Here's your pair.
So this $52 per unit, that only includes the holder, or does
That is
include
actually
the
the-
prescription as well?
No, that's actually
Just the frame.
just the frame,
So
and the frame clips in.
are we paying for the member's prescription? That's an additional.
I let
cost?
them go, like I've explained, I think 4 times now. Polycarbonate lenses, right? Anti-glare, and your prescription. That's it. Anything extra, they have to pay for.
Right, so
Nobody's
that's-
going anything extra.
My question is, that's an additional cost that's not seen.
That's out of the operating budget that I have money. Yeah. Yep. And typically it hasn't been that bad.
This is also a new line item.
It is, I broke it out, so
Okay.
it's there, you know, in the interest of being transparent, I broke it out and put it there for you. So you can see it.
Any other thoughts on that? No?
Nope.
So moving along to the Scat Pack Tracer, complete with the charger, for the 4 units. So where are the 4 units gonna be? So what? how does that-
They'll be mounted, one will be in the Tahoe,
Yeah,
one will be in the engine,
yeah,
one will be in the SWAT,
okay.
and one in the truck.
Do we need 4 right off the bat? Is it so?
We go to Danbury with the truck, I want one on the truck to
Okay.
track our members. You see what I'm saying? That's the issue.
But here's my question for you. You go to Danbury with the truck, who stands outside and looks at the tractor?
myself, and deputy chief, one of us is gonna go. Our response is if something goes to Danbury.
Yeah.
And chief goes in a separate vehicle and
So-
checks in to see who's on the rig, so we know who's on the rig.
So I guess my question would be, if
And
you're
goes.
bringing your separate vehicles, why do we need it on the truck?
If I'm not around, he's at work in Danbury and he goes right to the scene, he gets it off the rig.
Listen, I understand, I just think that for now, maybe two, maybe your chief's car.
Listen, I'm willing to do whatever you guys want to do. I'm just telling you my thoughts.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
I get you, my
Are
feeling.
you running any pack trackers in
No.
Stony Hill, Chief?
No,
Do you have plans to run any pack trackers in Stony Hill?
not at this time.
Again, for me, it's a safety issue. I think it enhances safety, scene safety. It lets us track the individuals. I think that's a good thing. You know, they lost 3 in Baltimore today, unfortunately,
Yeah,
in a collapse, a fire collapse, so.
Chris, this is also a new item, correct?
Dr. Peter, thoughts on the trackers?
Maybe I agree, start with 2. But I wonder why Stony Hill doesn't find a need for them.
Cost prohibitive. I haven't seen a need in the recent past in fires that we've had. I've been relying on the training, the writ, communications. But if the commission feels that it's a safety issue that should be endorsed, then I'll look into it and maybe get a couple of pack trackers for Stony Hill. And then you'll have at least a couple on each end of town.
Hmm.
And both departments will have the same safety.
Yeah, now, my next question would be, if you guys get pack trackers, can you track their numbers?
If we have it turned
If
on.
they have them turned on, absolutely.
Okay.
The 12 air packs that are ordered currently.
Yeah.
Will be turned on. They've already been told to make sure they're turned on when they're delivered.
Okay.
Because like I said, if you're not turned on,
Yeah.
it's an extra charge to turn them on.
Negative.
Well, I was
For a low
gonna
budget.
ask the question, if the truck goes to Danbury, can they track our packs? But
We have now MSA anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not. Currently, I just have Ford Lunar that you can track.
Mhm.
So I think, I mean, my personal opinion is, I understand your request. I think I'd like to start with maybe 2. You know, even if we did one in your car, you know, we have, do you always have a car?
No.
Or do you have an officer always has a car, right? Is that how you work it, or?
There's one there that's for the duty officer.
Yeah.
They could take it at will and use it, and then they're responsible for making the calls. If they have the vehicle, they're expected to make the calls. Right.
Yeah, or we could, I mean, what's the thoughts if we did one for them and, you know, one for Stony Hill, and we kind of work towards that way?
And then you we're making a uniform, but
Yeah.
both department, you know, we're talking about making both departments the same. But
Yeah,
We could do it as a pilot. If it turns out to be beneficial, we can increase. If it turns out not, we won't.
I don't know if we're actually prepared to make any recommendations tonight. I think we need a couple days to digest all this
Yep.
information.
yeah,
Before we can actually, make any recommendations.
Okay.
Maybe have another meeting with our actual
well,
recommendations.
Doug does the spreadsheet, we can see it better too. But I agree with DJ about maybe one for each department. We'll start off.
all right, so,
I would rather see us do some cutting rather than the Board of Finance do a cutting on.
Yep.
you know.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think we need, some time to
Yeah.
digest all the information rather than trying to make, cuts right here on the spot.
Well, if we're gonna be making a decision on whether we actually go forward with it or not, then I would suggest getting one for Bethel, let them be the pilot, let them be the test source, because right now it would be a cost to incur to have Stony Hill turn that feature on the packs that they have.
And
Ah.
your,
Good point.
only the 12 that you have are gonna be turned on, not you have to pay for the others to get turned on.
If they're not turned on, we have to pay for those.
Okay, then are they turned on or you're not sure?
I don't believe they are.
Not as of right now.
No.
All right.
But the 12 that are coming in are gonna be they're gonna be split up. amongst-
And what's the cost to turn it on?
They're gonna be pretty well covered there.
Do you have the cost?
I don't have the current cost. I can ask tomorrow.
Ballpark, $20, 200?
I wouldn't even want to venture to say how much,
Okay,
but
all
I will get the cost for you tomorrow,
right, cool.
what they cost to turn on.
So all right. I think I'd like to start with one, and then kind of run a little pilot, and then, we could
Yep.
always go from there. But, like Fred said, maybe we can, we'll go through this all, we'll all kind of think about it, and then we'll schedule a special meeting for next week, when we can
Yep.
have that, everything together, and then I can get it so we can present it to them. Are we okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Like I said, this is me presenting to you. This is my budget. Last year's was not my budget.
I know.
This is my budget. I'm telling you what I feel is needed. And then you guys do what you gotta do and we can talk about
Okay.
it. No problem.
All right. The various blade size, blades and
Mhm.
chains and saws as needed. Obviously, I think you kind of,
Yeah, there's no questions there.
you can't speak for what you're gonna use or not. use, so,
No, when they're expensive. The blades and the chains are expensive.
Absolutely.
They're carbide tipped.
Peter, did you say you had a question on that?
No, I said no problem here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like you said, you can't really predict
Mhm.
that. You don't know everything.
Right.
The rad detector.
Yeah.
You said that we have one in town, or
One, I believe fire marshal has it. I don't know where it is. And then I don't know the age of that.
okay, Fire Marshal Galliford, are you here?
Oh, he's still on board.
Yeah, I mean, the last I knew, that was received during was part of the 9/11 grants.
Yeah, it was.
So that's
And it,
pretty old.
went to the police department and it got a lot of cases bad, and nobody knew where it was.
Right.
I kind of pursued it and then we got it into the fire marshal's hands, so at least it was accessible.
Right.
So, I mean, it's 2001. I mean, it's
Right.
old.
I mean, I just, for $2,200, I think it's worth it
Yeah.
to have one mobile.
Tom, do you know where it is?
Yeah, it's sitting near my desk. Like Fred says, it's outdated. We had it for a while, and it's an outdated unit that has no life left in it. The sensors are no good, and I don't even think they'll make that unit anymore. So it's 18 years old, 20 years old.
And the PD doesn't have one?
You don't have one?
No, they were all given to. We were given a variety of different meters back after 2001. Since then, the state didn't give us any service contracts or any replacements afterwards.
Have we ever needed it?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
DJ, you have one in the big city?
The hazmat truck has one, which is provided by Region 5. So
So it is a regional asset.
it's a regional asset, but yes, that's the only one we have.
My personal take on this would be it's covered.
Agreed.
Thoughts?
I'd like to have one mobile on a truck in town, ready to roll. For $2,200, I think it's well worth it. Both departments can be trained in the usage of it, along with the marshals and the fire marshal's office under Tommy, so that we have plenty of people that can use it. It does take time, EJ, as you know, if you're on the job in Danbury, to assemble that team and get that rig out.
Yeah, especially dispatch.
Okay.
Well,
It takes time. So I think it's money well spent and everybody can be trained on it. It's not something just for Bethel Fire. It's for the whole town.
Yeah, we had one, it's no longer in use or out of date, doesn't work. I think the town should have one of their own.
We always had one at Bethel Fire back when I got in. And then it morphed to after 9/11, the PD got it. They got the new one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's time to make sure we have one in town again. And I think it's better off in the fire department's hands where we all have access to it.
That's not something that we could even grant wise, you know. if there's
I'm
any-
just gonna ask.
You know, we can look into that.
I mean, it seems like something to me that, you know, I know we get a
I'd be
lot
able
of
to.
grant equipment.
You know, you got an awful lot of ARPA funds sitting in the town somewhere too.
Okay.
2.9 million,
How much?
2.9
Oh,
million.
2.8. Hey, Tommy, are you still there?
No, he
They had
said
to get
no.
off their classes that week.
Okay.
All right, we're on bottom of page 104. And we haven't gone through Chief Baker yet.
Well, I think maybe we just, since Chief went through line by line, and we're gonna have another follow-up meeting in the next week, or before, maybe we leave our comments amongst the commission when we decide to vote.
Right, if you guys want to just go through it, if you have a specific question about a specific line item in a specific account,
Right.
fire away.
Yeah, we'll just go
We'll
through.
just, we can do that if you'd like.
Okay, so just coincidentally, 2 down for me, the imaging cameras, what's the difference between a large one and a small one?
Yeah,
They're handheld?
size up. The small ones are really for size up, for when the officer gets there, you're able to take it and do the size up. The larger ones are on the rigs. When the crew
Okay.
gets off, somebody's responsible for taking that thermal.
Got it.
imaging.
Okay,
It's their responsibility to have a little, when they enter the structure.
and how old are the old ones?
Current age,
Approximately,
10 to 11 years old now.
okay.
What would happen to those?
So better technology for sure.
As I said, we'll still use them for training,
Yep,
backups. They're not
Yep,
gonna-
yep.
I'm not about replacing stuff and chucking it. I'm
yeah,
about
yep.
using it as long as you can for backup and for training.
Is there new technology with these newer units? They're different
Yes,
than
there
the
is.
existing units?
It definitely is.
And you currently have 2?
Yeah, four. I'm only asking for 2 right now. Because I figured that was not fair to ask for all 4.
4 are all the same age?
No.
No, they're different. So we're trying to stagger them out again, same thing, stagger them out, be fair, stagger them out. Because you don't want to have to replace everything all at once.
Can you get us the age on them?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Peter, that answered all your questions, sir? Okay, anybody else have any,
If we go back one line, on the 5 gas meters,
Yeah. what's that?
currently you have 4 gas meters.
4 gas meters.
How many of those do you have? And how old are
Various years.
Yeah, they're all mixed.
Staggered.
Again, same thing. I can get you the years. They're all staggered years.
Yes.
I didn't buy any of them,
they?
so.
And Chief Baker, are you using any 5 gas meters or are you all?
Currently, the 5 gas meter we have is out of service, so we don't have a 5 gas meter. We're currently only using 4 gas meters.
What is the 5th gas?
Hydrogen cyanide. So I figured if we can replace 2, like I said, again, same thing, stagger out when you're replacing stuff, which I think is more palatable for the taxpayer and to everybody else. I mean, to me, I wouldn't want to come to you and say, I need to get 6 right now or 7 right now. It makes no sense to have them all the same manufacturer date approximately.
You know, are all your 4 gas meters currently functional?
Yes, they are. They are.
so going forward, we could do 1 this year, 1 next year?
I'm sorry.
So we could potentially do 1 this year, 1 next year?
If you wanted to, I was figuring do two to get started and then go back to, maybe you do one next year or you wait a year and then you do 2 more. You know what I mean?
What does the presence of hydrogen cyanide tell us about a fire?
That's-
I'll hit that quickly. Today's building materials and all that, hydrogen cyanide is much more prevalent, so.
And furniture.
Yes, it's obvious, it's it's something that
Okay.
is much more prevalent and
Deadly.
is, exactly, it's very deadly, and it has been found to be the cause of several cardiac events, in over
Okay,
Yeah. Or
we need,
500. We do have 5 gas meters with H.
yep, no argument. Definitely need one. And Stony Hill needs theirs fixed.
What brand do you have?
Q-Ray.
So I would say maybe in the interest of
We do have-
interoperability, maybe we'll look at the same brand if we're able to do,
We have one MSA
you know,
that we use as like a loaner. I would say the
Right.
Q-Ray is much. I like
because that'd be the
Q-Ray.
same thing. If you guys come into Bethel to help us, hey,
Yeah.
the meter's on the rig, go get it. It's the same meter you're using. Same thing for us going over there.
All right, moving along, I had a couple more, just 2 more questions on the 202 account. But just to be clear on the station wear and uniform clothing, that's not like parade uniforms.
No, I showed you what we did with it.
No parade uniform.
No Class A
Just want to be
uniforms are
clear on
bought
that.
with
And then
taxpayer
I have
funds.
a question on the firefighting gear. The Chief Baker has it kind of broken down in 2 lines. He has his, his turnouts in one line, and then he has boots, coats, and helmets in a separate line. But if you add the 2 together, it comes up to a 3,800. You're spending $3,800 for a complete set of turnout gear. He's spending $3,000 for a complete set of turnout gear. I'm wondering what's the cost difference?
I don't know. It could be in hoods and boots. Our boots are averaging around $400 a pair now.
It should be the same.
Our hoods,
Buying the same and spending the same.
our hoods
Yep,
are the cancer preventative hoods. They're some of the best on the market. They're a little over $100 a hood. So, I mean, I want the guys and gals protected as much as we can protect them because
Oh, I don't disagree with you there. I'm just.
right, but we need a town-wide standard.
Buying the same stuff,
Agree with you.
across town.
They should be getting the same stuff. So
Right.
maybe something going forward, we should look at. It should be
But there seems to be a.
matching
Right.
our gear. You
And-
guys don't use the same vendors, I assume.
And the gear is, we have warning pride.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Chief, you,
We use Globe.
Globe. So there may be a difference there in the actual coat and pants.
So one of the things that we did was we broke out the boots, because if we have a firefighter that's just joining, we don't know if they're gonna last, we'll get them a lower grade pair of boot, maybe rubber boots instead of leather boots. So you have to earn the right to have something a little bit more nicer. Not that it's less as far as safety, but in the interest of cost savings versus somebody that's gonna be there for a year, maybe go away to college, not see him again, or somebody that's not really sure that this is something they want to do. We've had people join and leave. But once you've shown that you're going to be there for the long haul, then your next set of boots may be a leather set of boots. So we did break those out. Gloves and hoods, they were broken out because that didn't seem to be something that was going to be the same all the time based on changes in preference on gloves. Because of the fact that people have different dexterity, and so we try them out different times throughout the year. Helmets, we do get different ones for either the firefighters that are interior certified versus the probies or the junior firefighters that are not 18 yet, so they'll have different helmets versus, so we didn't have that included in a complete set. That's why we broke it out.
That kind of explains the cost.
Right. No, our probationary members have the same helmet, but it's a different color, so you know they're a probie. The boots for new members, as I previously explained when I came to you, gentlemen, for 14 sets of gear. All the new members, like the chief's talking about, get an older set of gear. That includes an older set of boots. And you're not getting new. It's very rare that somebody walks in the door and gets new. Those go to experience, if there's an experienced firefighter.
Yeah.
That's coming in, that's ready to go. Yeah, I know they're staying. I'm gonna give them the top notch stuff.
Yeah, I think that the detail here is that we just should present it the same for both departments.
Yeah.
It just looks unaligned if we're presenting it differently.
Mhm.
So whatever it is, however we figure out how to do that, just present it that way. And obviously, every set of gear is not going to meet every need, and there's going to be nuances and all that. But
On the station wear uniform clothing, is that something you had in the budget before? Is that a new item?
It's been there before.
It's
I should have probably rated it that it's t-shirts,
You know,
tops, and
you know, do you have an idea what was in the line item before?
it was about the same. I didn't
It was?
I didn't go crazy with it. Just like I said, it's just to buy, like right now, we're looking at getting long sleeve t-shirts. Because we had those years ago, people said that they liked those, and I said, well, we'll get some. Our stock is actually down now, so I have to buy some stuff. So,
Moving along real quick before we go to the next section, I just wanted to ask, how many currently hydrants do you have?
Three.
Three?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the other two, they'll put one on each rig.
okay.
That's all. And they've been used multiple times already since we got them. They worked out very well.
Okay.
Small, compact, easy to carry.
Any other questions for 202?
But it currently, you have two, did you say?
Oh, there are three.
Hose replacement, $6,000 in downtown and only 1,000 out in Stony Hill.
That may be dependent on age. Chief Baker knows better what his hose is compared to mine, but mine, I went through my list and I counted out all the ones that, like I said, are coming up on 20 years old this year or 20 plus years old right now. And there was a couple lengths in there that I missed last year that they couldn't find a date on. So I don't want that in service if there's no date on it from manufacturer. They tested it, it passed, but there's no date of manufacture on it. So that all needs to go. Same thing, it's got to go. And then we're pretty good because a lot of hose was bought in 2018. So we should be good for quite a while after this purchase. That should take us through for quite a while.
Okay. Moving on to 207. Questions on account 207?
Yeah, I got four quick questions. On the floor cleaning, you have $5,500 for floor cleaning and waxing, I guess it is, Chief. And Stony Hill only has $1,000. Do you really have that much more floor space than they have in Stony Hill, or?
You've seen the square footage. I mean, it's all got to be done. And I think it's got to be done at least 4 times a year, if not more.
I'm just asking, is there 5 times the square footage in Bethel that there is in Stony Hill, or is Stony Hill not taking care of their floors?
Stony Hill's got a newer building, so obviously they got newer floors still. We're dealing with a building that's from the 50s.
This is, you pay to have the floors done, that's what I'm.
That's out of the account, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's scheduled through building maintenance.
Okay.
But it's done out of this account.
Well, I guess let me throw it over to Chief Baker. Is $1,000 enough to do your floors annually?
It could probably be used again, but I didn't,
They're getting older.
it's not increased because we get it done twice a year, just before the bad weather and then just after the bad weather.
And then the question on the pest control, Chief McCollum, you got $1,500 in your budget, and Chief Baker's got $500. I mean, is there bigger bugs downtown, or?
No, as I explained to you earlier, when I said we've had some issues. That's what I put in there. If you want to lower it, that's up to you guys. So
Do you have any idea what you currently?
You know what you currently, you know what you spent last year on it?
Currently, we didn't spend probably a little over 5.
Yeah, I mean, when I was chief, that was like a contracted service. They came in quarterly and did their thing.
Well, we could do that too. Again, that wasn't in the couple budgets I looked back in. So obviously that went away, probably after you were chief. So,
Office supplies.
Mhm.
You have 1950 office supplies.
Yeah.
Chief Baker's got $300. Why such a huge difference in office?
well,
supplies?
because I want to get some more boards to put up on the walls, bulletin boards, things like that. I could.
That's a lot of bulletin boards.
It's a lot of bulletin boards.
It's not
And
just
post
boards.
everything.
It's other supplies to go with it, you got all the, right down to paper clips. I mean, you gotta buy it all. The only thing I'm not buying right now is, like I said, is paper. The town is kind enough to let them in the mail room,
Yeah, you can get paper clips upstairs.
take reams of paper, which I do. I actually was in here today and took reams of paper.
We can do that. I don't buy
Yeah.
paper. You're coming down there and just grabbing it.
Yeah, I was told I could come down and get it.
I
You
just
should
want to
come
go
down and
back,
get it too.
I come here a couple days a week for
Yeah.
dropping off bills.
Chris, I want to go back to the other line. You got a contingency of $4,000.
Mhm.
Have we ever carried contingencies before?
No, like I said, I put that in there, that's for you gentlemen to
I'm
decide.
just asking.
No, I'm just saying, it's in there for you gentlemen to decide if you want to do it that way, or you want to take that out, and if I have something that happens and I need to come back to you, I come back to you, that's all.
And Chief, do you expect to need a lot of repairs on the building? You've got a little over $10,000 for cleaning repairs. And I know the building's old.
1950s. You know,
So, is what type of repairs is that? Is that boiler repairs or?
no, that's like, for a third example,
Door locks, things like that?
they put the bay door up for the animals to go out, and one of the rollers fell right out. So we had to have an emergency call for that, for them to come and repair the door. Well, that's in that account, I gotta pay for that. You know, I mean, the bay door in the tower, the closer up top came apart. That was an emergency call. They had to come and fix that. I mean, I gotta pay for that stuff. Like I said, it is what it is. Will I use all that? I don't know.
Well,
I'm certainly not looking to use all that.
I don't mean to be harping on it, but like, do you have any idea what last year's budget was for the building maintenance, and did you use it all?
It's mixed, Rich. That's the problem, is some of it is me and some of it is truly building maintenance where they take the bill. Like last year, we had the backup that I still feel was not my issue from the storm drain in the back of the building
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah,
I had to pay for that. That was over $4,000. It was 4,700 and change to serve for us to come in and clean everything up. Okay, so that's almost half of the 10K right there. Hopefully that's all fixed now. They reconnected it outside,
you never know.
but they told me it was my issue and I had to pay for it. So I paid for it out of my budget. I had no choice. What am I gonna do? So it's stuff like that that comes up that you don't expect. Like I said, it is what it is.
Insurance didn't cover that backup?
No, it did not. The town's got big deductibles on everything too, unfortunately, so. You put in a claim, you're only gonna get a little bit because the deductibles are so high, which is typical of any municipality. And that's how they keep the insurance cheaper with the high deductible.
Okay, moving along, any questions on account 208?
No.
I got a couple of
So-
questions. I think we answered the one on the compressor.
Mhm.
There was you have a cost of $3,900 for biannual testing, and Chief Baker had a cost of $2,900 for quarterly
It's,
testing.
what it is it's twice yearly service with the test.
Mhm.
And then twice he comes just for the test. It is 4 quarters. I did confirm that with him today. The
So-
problem is, as I told you,
And you're getting.
he's got the
same thing,
code to the
John?
door, he lets himself in.
Yes,
So my question then is why is one department paying $3,900 and another department paying $2,900 for the same thing?
What size is the compressors? Are they both the same or not?
I don't know, I'm asking. the
Well,
question, Chief.
I believe they're the same,
I don't know.
unless he's coming up with a price increase that I was not aware of.
That's right out of my budget from last year, guys, just so you know that figure. It's right out of the budget from last year. The other thing is, unfortunately, he charges travel here and back. So that may be something that Chief Baker and I can combine on where
Schedule the same
he
day?
comes and scheduled the same day and I pay one way and John pays the other way, you know?
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It was
There
Um,
seems to be quite a discrepancy, $1,000
All-
discrepancy between service for the same thing.
All of this annual testing I put in this account. My recommendation to you gentlemen would be that it gets its own account, its own number. You'd have to talk to Brad about that. And that it just be listed under annual testing and service. And then these all be listed under that, including the Plamo vent, which I forgot to put that in here. It's in a different account. I think that all that stuff like this should be in one account by itself, standalone. It shouldn't be in any other account. just a suggestion.
Okay.
That's why I grouped it all together here, so you can see it.
I also question your fire extinguisher service, your $1,400.
Mhm.
Chief Baker's got $500, but you have that many more fire extinguishers than Chief Baker has?
I bought quite a bit of fire extinguishers last year because unfortunately we had an OSHA complaint. And one of the big things with OSHA now in Connecticut, one of their biggest things, believe it or not, is fire extinguishers. They come in and they check all the extinguishers, and that includes everything on the trucks. So I bought more extinguishers last year, and I didn't buy new either. I bought used that he hydro tested, that he verified were good, and filled for me, that have been turned back into him, that we put on the rigs and around the building, in key places in the building, like there's several in the truck room now that were never there before. There's another one in the tower bank that was never there before. There's multiple ones upstairs in the meeting rooms that were never there before. Why they weren't there, I don't know. But I got them all put in last year, and they only give you serviced annually.
I mean,
So that's
are we
the
thinking
annual
you have
service.
3 times the amount of extinguishers that Chief Baker has, or are we
That's the
thinking
annual.
Stony Hill's not compliant with the amount of extinguishers?
If I could finish talking, I'll tell you, that's the annual service, and that's for anything that fails, that then I have to buy either one that hopefully has been turned back in, or I gotta buy brand new. And if you buy brand new, it's way more expensive. So I stayed away from that last year and was able to buy used extinguishers, like I said, that he hydroed that I paid for, that he then filled and delivered to me.
Yeah, but aren't those tanks only good for 10 years?
Extinguishers, it
Even if
depends.
they're hydro tested, they're
The
10 years
extinguishers,
life, I think.
the extinguishers depend on the fittings on them, Rich. If they're plastic, when you expend them, they're done. If they're metal, I believe it's 10. I can verify that with him tomorrow. That's why I was buying used ones instead of new, because I can be cheap when I want to be, you know what I mean?
Well, it is, I'm not
So-
saying, it depends how used they are, if they're,
No, these are
7
all,
years old.
no, these are all in good
1 year
shape.
old, that's something different.
These are all in good shape. They're all hydro. They all met the standard. So I bought them.
The question is still, are there 3 times more downtown than there are in Stony Hill?
So we have quite a few more. I'll count them up for you.
Yeah, that's- and Chief Baker would be.
After, like I said, after you get a
As far as
visit,
I knew, the
after you get a visit from
number of
OSHA, you
extinguishers
do
was
things.
based on when the building was built, and we were never told they were out of compliance. And we just get them tested every year.
Right.
They have to be tested every year and tagged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, then the only other
But I don't want
question
OSHA coming
I have on that account, and I've asked you about this before, Chief, but I still, I don't understand it. The 3-year brake check on engine 6, I fail to understand why that's not part of the annual vehicle inspection. Why is that a separate charge?
Because it is. I can't tell you why.
In my
It just
opinion,
is.
brakes should be inspected on every vehicle every year,
The brakes
not
are
a separate
inspected.
inspection every 3 years.
and I
But who
explained-
does the 3-year inspection?
I explained this to you the other day. They are inspected every year, but every 3 years, you have to literally pull the tire off, take the assembly apart, visually inspect it. They take pictures of it to document what they found. It's all on paper and it comes back to us that it passed. If it doesn't pass, whatever they have to do to it, they do to it, and then it's an extra charge.
But whose requirement is this, the 3-year?
That's, FPA, I believe. It's either FPA or OSHA, it's one of them. So
But if you're doing them every year, it's just another year.
It's not the same thing.
You get an annual vehicle
It's,
inspection,
it's not the same thing, as I have explained.
they don't pull the wheels when you do an annual
No,
vehicle inspection?
no. No,
Oh,
that's not included in the annual inspection. No, it's
Who
not.
does your annual inspection? What do they do?
GK.
They don't
It
pull your
blows my
wheels?
mind that they're not pulling your wheels and checking your brakes.
I don't want to argue back and forth.
No, I know.
They're not doing it. I'm telling you straight out, they're not doing it. That's not what they do. They do it every 3 years.
So what is your annual
Engine 6
inspection?
is the only one doing
so
it.
they must pull the plug, crawl underneath with the flashlight, says looks good.
I couldn't tell you. I just know that they do it and they verify that they're good.
Okay.
So they put their John Hancock on the paper saying they've checked them and they're good. But engine 6 is coming due this year. It'll be 3 years old. I have no choice. Got to do it. It's just like squad 5 coming due. 7 years old for tires. That's from when it was new. They have to be replaced.
Can you just do me a favor and verify who that is requirement for?
Yeah.
Whether it's NFPA or OSHA?
I'm sorry, I can't remember which one, but I'll verify that.
Okay.
Because it was a requirement, because I asked that same question.
Okay.
Why do we have to do it?
NFPA would not be a requirement, correct?
I think it's OSHA.
Anything else?
Yeah, one quick question,
Yeah.
Chris,
Mhm.
the annual testing for the apparatus and pumps, is that the same company that tests the ladder and the hoses and the
No,
ground ladders?
no,
It's a different company, so.
that's
okay,
correct.
So they're,
The company that comes in and does all that line item, that's 6,000 and change,
yeah,
is out of New Jersey. They come in and they spend a couple days here and they do all our testing.
one company doesn't do both.
What is the testing done to the Chief's car?
I'm sorry?
What is the testing done to the Chief's
I
car?
take them down to the highway garage
Oh, okay,
and they get checked.
so that's like
Along with-
an annual inspection.
Right, right.
Hey, one more question for you, Chief, just came to me. You said you're due to replace the tires on SWAT 5 this year.
Yeah.
What do we do with those old tires? I know you're just replacing them because it's a requirement on time. There's nothing really wrong with the tires. Do we get those tires back to like maybe turn over to the highway department?
You know, you and I talked about that. I think that's a great idea because
Because there's really nothing wrong with those tires other than they age out.
And the biggest thing is you can't give them to anybody because of the liability. But if they're owned by the town of Bethel, I would think maybe. I would think.
There's liability for everyone else. Why would we take it on ourselves? I understand trying to get a little extra use out of a barely worn yet dry tire. I might not do that.
There's places that do it in Connecticut. I didn't do it last year. I just got rid of the tires. I paid for the
Right.
disposal. Because I personally didn't want the liability.
Okay, under 301, the dues and education, any questions on that?
Yeah, does Bethel do the training for both houses?
No,
Okay, because it's,
we do share like fire school, like I got 8 dates. I let Chief Baker know we have 8 dates, 4 during the week, 4 on weekends, at 2 different fire schools. So we
okay,
can-
so the discrepancy is the desire to send folks to train additional training and conferences.
Absolutely, education is the key. That's a big thing now, education.
And again, Chris, you don't know what you paid last year for the dues,
For what?
for that line, for the dues and education.
Yeah, I showed you right on that.
Yeah,
line.
no,
Okay.
for the breakdown, you have the.
It was all courses, Rich. It was all.
Right, I mean,
courses.
it's double what Stony Hill, and Stony Hill went down.
So, I mean, I can pull that for you. You know, there were
Yeah,
some
yeah.
courses that were 2,500, some courses were 4,500.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're all different and the cost is the cost. If you want that course, that's what you're gonna pay. You know, we're running a course right now at Bethel Fire. We have 2 people in the course for free because we're giving the state of Connecticut Fire School our building to use for the course.
Yeah.
Okay? So you get what they call seats. In the course, depending on what the course is, you get seats. So we got 2 free seats. So we have 2 members taking it free. And we're providing the facility.
Any other questions on 301?
Nope.
Okay, and then 306, the professional services. What's the behavioral healing?
That's that EAP.
Oh.
It's just a different name. That's the name that was in there. So that's the name
I
I
got
got.
it. Okay.
Same thing.
All right, so that's about the same. Okay. I didn't just go through it.
Yeah, that's it.
Didn't know
If
if you were
somebody has
getting
something
over.
going on, they can pick up the phone
Okay.
and confidentially talk to somebody on the
Yeah.
other end without anybody knowing.
No, I just, EAP,
That's what it is.
that cleared out.
I got a question about the emergency reporting. The police department just got a new program for incident reporting. Is that anything
not-
that you guys can piggyback on?
No, they got next gen, right?
They got
They're
next
just
gen.
building next gen right
They're
now.
building
That's
it
not
now.
for
yeah.
their reports.
You know, which is a whole nother
It's just- it's-
aspect that I want to discuss at some point. with-
I think, well, John being a dispatcher, I think he would be the man to talk to on that, absolutely.
The only thing I had on the
You know.
emergency reporting was, I didn't see anything on it in your budget, chief. Is it accounted for in your budget somewhere? I missed it, or?
I think it was hidden under the, because it was so recent that we got it, we were just absorbing it, and I think, some of the, cost in the, firehouse maintenance,
So you're accounting for it somewhere.
yeah,
Oh,
I just didn't line item it, so I probably should, because it's gonna come back to haunt us if they're gonna increase their, cost by 300%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions
Great.
currently? All right. So we will, we'll review this and, like I said, when we're done, we'll set a date for next week for a meeting to, vote on everything. So, we'll move on to Chief Baker then, if there's no more questions on that.
Okay, so thank you for meeting with us tonight. As far as the increase, I have a total increase from last year. I tried to keep it as low as possible to just under 11%. Most of the costs I kept flat, because I did not see the account being exhausted completely from previous years. The biggest changes in the 202 account, the equipment I left flat. I did increase replacing pagers because those are 15 years old. We inherently now are replacing 1 or 2 a year just because of the not cost effective to repair, and Motorola is getting out of the pager business, so we're looking to find a cheaper replacement, but they do have to be replaced. Computer equipment jumped up significantly because we do so much on computers now. I'd like to get the officers some Chromebooks, something cheap for them to use at their desk to do either managing this incident reporting, whether it's the truck checks, we have those in there completely. We have all of our inventory right down to each individual, what's been assigned to them. One officer is in charge of all communication, keeping track of all the pagers, radios. One officer is in charge of all uniforms and turnout gear. Another one is in charge of all the air packs and bottles, and everything is in there as far as age, cost, and who is assigned to. So I'd like to get them computers to get all of that and keep it current. Helmets and boots I kept the same. I did increase, like Chief McCollum, the cost of the turnout gear. The foam I kept to a minimum because, as Chief McCollum said, the apparatus is still filled with foam. So until I can get those emptied, I just want to keep a minimum for doing like an inline foam eduction system. Once they do empty the 40-gallon tanks on the apparatus, we can look at putting in a capital for getting those replaced with environmentally friendly foam. Fire hose, like it was discussed earlier, I kept flat because in the last couple of years I have not had any failures. So I didn't see a need. I still have some back stock. If I do have some failures, that'll be able to be absorbed into the next budget. We won't need it this year. Hazmat materials, that is cost going up. So I did increase that. We are gonna have to purchase some booms, some pads, as well as speedy dry. Under supplies, that was pretty much staying flat, except for drills and emergency food, just because of a cost increase on food and people attending the drills. Under repairs, the NFPA testing of the SCBA's, that just went up because of a cost increase. And I did add in a $600 cost of having the apparatus at least annually deep cleaned, sanitized, and deconned for any carcinogens from any fires throughout the year. And that would be for every apparatus, all three. Under firehouse maintenance, there's an increased cost for outside ground maintenance. It's just because landscaping and weeding and mulching is just increased. The big increase on telephone and cable, that's because we were not accurately showing the cost of what cable is. Comcast is charging us over $300 a month. that could decrease if we get on the fiber optic system that we're trying to get the town to push for. So some of that cost will get absorbed into some streaming costs, so we can get some of the current live channels as well as some movies just to keep the membership happy. Under vehicle maintenance, the general service and repairs went up just because of cost increase. The annual NFPA pump test and service test, just a cost increase. Federal inspections, a cost increase. The ground ladder testing was a cost increase. The annual required hose testing, there was a cost increase, and we also bumped it up a little bit because we were not aware that the nozzles needed to be tested as well as the hose, so we're adding that to the next testing rotation. The HERS tool went up for increase in cost, and we also got this year the hydraulic tool, so we actually added some tools to that list of maintenance and annual service testing. And the truck batteries and tires, that went down due to the fact that tires got moved from the operating to capital. And the dues and education stayed somewhat the same. The only increase was actually in training costs. As Chief McCollum said, that for the amount of money that we're paying for volunteers for training has been, pretty small at best. So we did try and increase it so we can send them the way to schools. I have several people that wanted to go to the National Fire Academy to take some classes. Specialized training, the cost is increasing. We're trying to get in specific things like elevator rescue or ropes and low angle rescue classes. These are things that are very specific and not taught in any detail in some of these Fire One classes. So that all costs money. And with Chief McCollum, it was nice and gave me his list of training and vice versa, so that we can both take part in some of those training costs. And the rest of the budget is pretty much flat.
Okay, thank you. Stony Hill, any questions for 202?
I have a question on the uniforms and wear, station wear.
Yes, that was increased because New England
Is that the
Uniform has
same-
increased their cost.
Is that the same thing, the sweatshirts and gear for the?
No,
personnel,
not
or is that
necessarily
something-
the sweatshirt. Some of that is also, we try and incur that under the cost of recruitment and retention.
Uh-huh.
But uniforms, we consider that as a need just for,
The sweatshirts or t-shirts that you give the.
yeah, that would be more under recruitment and retention. This would be for the Class A uniforms, and any shirts that have specifically our patches on them are what I would consider under uniforms. T-shirts, ball caps, knit hats, that would be under
Yeah.
recruitment
So
and
it's kind
retention.
of a different category. than what you-
You're buying parade uniforms.
We are buying parade uniforms on that.
One thing, it does seem the departments handle tires differently. Chief Baker indicated that tires should be in capital.
Yeah, I was told that by the finance department based on the cost. And it was easier for them because it's not something that's purchased yearly. I projected those out on the 10-year plan that they requested a month or two ago.
It seems like there's something we should resolve there.
Absolutely.
Right, FDNY capitalizes all the spare parts because they order them in the back of the new trucks. They never have parts costs.
Clever.
All right.
I got a handful of questions for you, Chief. The miscellaneous computer equipment is a fairly significant increase. What are you attributing that increase to? Went from 250 last year to $1,000.
That was for the purchase of the Chromebooks.
And then, on your absorbents and CD drive and hazmat materials, when you have a spill and heat comes in and, they hire a cleanup contractor, do you try to recover some of the materials that way? Usually, people, recover the materials for you through the spills insurance.
Most of, we haven't had too many, where deep has been involved. I'm just talking about your routine, motor vehicle accidents.
Okay.
That's where most of the speedy dry is used.
Right, and then you're,
That's all billable, but that's up to the town of Bethel.
yeah, I mean,
And you
have
guys
to
to
have
decide
some
if that's
some
gonna
money
be
in there
billable.
for stuff. but-
Like Brookfield bills for all that.
Yeah.
The regular run-of-the-mill MVAs, like the chief's talking about,
Yeah.
they bill for everything that you use. We don't do that here in Bethel.
And then your hazmat meter, you had $1,000 in there for hazmat meters. Chief McCollum had, I don't know, like $6,000 or something for a biogas meter. What do you get for $1,000?
Well, you said, John, you have a 5-gas meter?
No, no longer because it wasn't repairable.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
that's.
I thought
for,
I saw a repair cost in here.
Yeah, that's under repair, which would be for, getting new, sensors as needed, getting, calibration, gas as needed.
Well, you have gas meter repairs on a separate line under repairs for $750, but under equipment. you
Right,
have-
that's what I was talking about.
Well, the $1,000 is for, mobile radio and portable radios.
No, on your 202, under equipment, well, the last line,
Oh,
the
okay.
hazmat meter,
Oh, I'm looking under the wrong, subtitle.
and then down under repairs, you have gas meter repairs for $750. So are you buying a new meter for $1,000?
That would be purchased if we had something go out of service.
So I guess my question is, why is a meter in Stony Hill $1,000 when in Bethel it was $6,000 something dollars?
That all depends on which meter goes out of service. I'm looking at just the run-of-the-mill, CO meter.
Okay, so this would be like one of those personal CO meters?
Right.
Okay,
The little handheld.
all right.
Because we do have one of those for each of the officers.
And then on the mobile and portable radio repairs, we just authorized the purchase of all new portables, so.
Right, so that was
Really
just
expecting
for,
$7,000 on repairs.
we're planning on keeping quite a few of the old radios to reissue them either for EMS or for, fire police, because, we did check with utility communications. They were only gonna give us $30 to $40 a piece.
Right.
For the old one. So I said, for that cost, we might as well keep them.
Absolutely.
So that would, I kept it flat because it would be for, either, sporadic repairs as needed, or for batteries are still very expensive. Occasionally we need knobs, replacement antennas, the external mic needs to be replaced or repaired. So that's just to the unforeseeable costs of repairs.
Oh, I have understood too.
Anybody else have anything on Senate Bill 202? So moving along to the 207. Firehouse maintenance, any questions on that?
Yes, on outside grounds maintenance, you have, what did you have?
Outside ground maintenance, I went from 1,000 to 1,500.
Right, and why isn't your outside grounds maintenance being done by Park and Rec like it is downtown, right? Chief, yours is being done by Park and Rec? There's no subcontractor fee?
Yes, I went to Eileen and I said, I don't understand, this is a public building. Why isn't Park and Rec taking care of this? When I worked at Park and Rec, we always took care of the building.
Well, that's kind of
And
my question. Why
she
isn't
said
that
to
happening
me,
in Stony Hill?
well, we can only do it every 2 weeks. And I said, well, every 2 weeks I'll take, but I mean, I'm gonna go back here this year and say, look, it needs to be done every week. That's what it always was. So they come and they mow and they do the basic stuff, the basic cleaning it up and weed eating and that stuff.
I mean, I'll grant you, the curb, the appearance of Stony Hill is a lot better than Bethel, but it should be the same. I mean, if we're getting a subcontractor to do the ground maintenance in Stony Hill, then we should be getting a subcontractor to do the ground maintenance downtown, or not,
I think Park and Rec, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think Park and Rec figured it was too much work for them to do.
Yeah, they said it wasn't in the budget.
More grass and grounds than at downtown, and I think that's why they hired it out.
A lot more grass around downtown than there is in Stony Hill.
I don't know.
The agency should be doing its core mission work.
The same across the board, I mean.
Bethel Fire doesn't have a lot of grass to cut, I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If we can ever get the parking lot paved, then the place will start to look nice again. That hasn't been done yet. That's out of my
You gotta
hands.
get the water line fixed first.
That's out of my hands too. It's been requested multiple times. Hopefully that'll happen this year.
And then I think you explained your telephone and cable and office equipment?
Yeah,
That was a cost
the
of
telephone and cable equipment is because Comcast, it was not, I know the previous month, or previous year was only 2,000, but in actuality, we're paying over $300 a month in cable. So that's actually
So it wasn't
hard
being
number.
budgeted properly.
it wasn't budgeted properly in the year before. There was a minimal increase, but not that much. It was just never documented properly.
I can back the chief up on that because Comcast, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous. what we pay.
it's
It's
ridiculous for a
ridiculous. It
home.
upsets me every time I see the bill for them. It's a lot of money.
So like-
We're over 200 a month,
You know, and this is why I'm pushing the town
you know?
regularly to try and get on this fiber optic network, and that can go away.
Yeah.
And that won't get rid of Comcast entirely?
It conceively can, because we can go out and
You just go
purchase
with
a streaming
service,
service.
Streaming service, yeah. The send network was approved. I was told that was approved and everything was signed. So it's now moving forward. It is moving forward. That's gonna be good for both departments. Very good for both departments.
All right, any other questions on 207?
No,
208, vehicle maintenance,
no.
questions? Concerns?
But the only question I have, I mean, it's minimal, I mean, I think it's mostly just the part of your service contract, but on the Hearst repairs, you had a slight increase. I know we just bought the new hydraulics out there, and you indicated that you were gonna let the hydraulic stuff kind of age out without doing any more repairs on them.
Well, I was gonna keep them in service as long as
We're
they
gonna
don't
keep
need
them
any
in
repairs,
service,
but they're still gonna have to be service tested. If they still pass the test, we'll keep using it, but if they say they need to have parts replaced on it, then we'll say, don't do the cost on it, we'll take it out of service.
Right, so your cost increase then is just attributed to the fact that
You have the
more
number of
equipment.
tools that are going to be tested.
Right, okay.
And do we know with your inspections and your chassis and all that, do you get brake inspections?
As far as I know, we get brake inspections.
Okay.
How come on
I stand by and not in front of it. What?
annual apparatus weight analysis, I didn't see that in Bethel.
We checked them. They all meet the weight. The most recent one was SWAT 5. Right, was part of putting it back together and we weighed it and it meets the weight.
Well, that was a question I had too.
The others all
I didn't
need
see
to
it
wait.
in your budget, chief.
I mean, we can weigh them every year if you want, but they all.
Well,
meet the weight.
again, is we're trying to uniform.
I understand that, but we haven't added any additional equipment to them, so
Okay.
it shouldn't be weighing anymore. So that, again, that's up to you, gentlemen. If you want us to weigh them every year,
It's not a mandate,
we should use the one company and do it together.
you know, is it a mandated thing or not, you know, it's.
Last I knew, it was an NFPA requirement.
I thought it was a
That doesn't really
DOT.
make it a mandate, but,
Yeah,
you know, NFPA kind of was recommending it annually. And I know when I was chief, I did it once.
There's
We
nothing
brought
in it.
everything under compliance.
Nothing from when I took over, so I wouldn't know until we're talking about it tonight, to be honest with you. Because if it was in there, I would have left it in there. It's kind of like the Plamo vent that went away, and I found out it went away.
Yeah, well, I've seen a final event for blow up, so that's a good thing.
Really?
Yep, I have seen it blow apart.
Oh,
Dues in education 301, any questions?
No,
I just like what do we get for $3,000 on recruitment and retention?
We just ordered signs.
I've seen them, impressive.
We've ordered flyers. We've ordered brochures. Like I said before, to entice, members to feel like they belong. That's where we are paying for the things like the T-shirts for new members, replacement shirts for members. We just had a recruitment drive, like an open house. We paid for the cost of that through that. But
Doug, Peter, any questions on that?
Nope.
All right, and then finally, 306 professional services.
Yes, I got a question.
Go for it.
You're asking for $17,500 for annual physicals. And Chief McCollum asked for 10,000. Do you have more members in Stony Hill that, or is Bethel doing less physicals? Why is there such a huge difference in numbers being requested between the two firms?
Well, one of the things that we added to that is the annual N95 testing that we added, and also, no, I think that's the only thing that we've added to it. I think it just is the cost of the physicals.
I guess the real question then is how many members are you having get physicals versus how many members do you have getting physicals?
Do you guys get every year? Everybody gets every year?
Annually. It's annually, and I changed the model when I became chief as to how it's done, like I was explaining before, like right now your truck drivers.
Yeah.
They gotta go and get a physical.
Yeah.
Why should the town of Bethel taxpayer pay for a second physical? That physical is perfectly good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's your.
what I pay for then is spirometry, because they're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
With the physical, they need to be a truck driver. Okay, so we're saving money there.
Yeah.
And that's my goal, as I said, was save money where we can save money. And try and reallocate for places where it's really needed.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gotta be physically fit. I don't
Yeah.
dispute that at all. I just,
Yeah.
it seems to me that there's more members downtown, but
We
it's
have,
costing us a lot less.
we have
physicals.
52 firefighters right now. Green tag firefighters right now, we have between that and there's another 12 on probation, right?
People requiring physicals, the number's 92.
Right,
These
right,
people
92
that
total,
understand
but there's
people that are existing.
There's 12 on probation right now that once they're done through their probation, they're full-time firefighters also. So we're gonna be up at 52 when they're off their.
So I kind of worry that perhaps maybe you're not budgeting enough for physicals.
As I said, I changed the whole model and so far it's been good. So
It looks like he's got more people that he's able to get physicals from other.
that's correct, from other avenues. That's correct.
Okay.
So if I can do that, I'm gonna save the money.
Well, maybe when Doug does the spreadsheet, you can see what the cost has been, what they have expended so far.
They charge a lot. They charge a lot.
Who's that? Oh, we're for what, closer to?
For Rock and Rocks, they charge a lot of money
Is that where you go?
per person, yeah.
The quality of the physical you get is horrible.
Well, there you go.
You don't have to tell me.
When you walk in, you're okay.
That's why I allow the DOT physicals for multiple members.
If you walk in, you pass.
A lot more
Okay.
exclusive.
See, it's like a lot better.
And we have a doctor in town right out front here who does spirometry that I'm gonna be talking to see if he's willing to do spirometry for us. And if that's true, we'll let Chief Baker know, because maybe we can arrange, he comes to our facility and their facility, and spirometry is done right in house. It's not part of the physical work. You're paying less and everybody's getting done at the same time. There's none, oh, I couldn't make it, I couldn't go over there today. No. This is the day you gotta be here to do it. You know?
All right, well, I appreciate everybody's time and bearing with us on this. You know, I think, I speak for myself, but I think a lot of things, you know, this is obviously new to us as a commission, but I think there's a lot of things we'd all like to see kind of a little bit more across the board, and hopefully we can start to work towards that. But let's, we'll do a day next week where we could do a meeting
You
and,
want to try to look for a date today?
yeah, I was gonna say if we could set that up right
Are
now.
you available Monday? Could we just do a week from today?
Let me see. That would be the 30th.
31st.
It is. I can do the 31st.
Depends on what time, because we have an officers meeting that night. First meeting with all the new officers.
What time is your
Lay
meeting?
down the law, 7 o'clock.
7. Is everyone, is 6 too early? Yeah,
No, I mean, if you are
Not for
available at
me.
6, I could do 6.
are you guys?
Good.
We're gonna do 6.
Fred?
Maybe.
Oh, geez.
Here we
go.
We provide
Depends how
dinner.
cold it is.
And is that
Yeah.
oil?
That's
World's
different.
smallest violin, playing minor place for you, Brett.
All right, well, let's go ahead, we'll schedule it for the 31st at 6.
Okay.
Here, meeting in May?
Yeah,
Meeting room A.
I like here first. And
All right, cool.
review our, everything and sync
So do you
it.
need anything from us between now and then?
I don't think so. If anybody has any questions, we'll, just let me know and I'll reach
Unless
out
you
to you
got some
guys.
areas where.
Yeah, you
come up with
guys
some
can get a
cuts.
hold of me, you know.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I would just make a note to all of you too, in closing, that I appreciate everything tonight. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your comments back. It's been very helpful.
No problem.
And just be aware that the 182.9 from last year's budget, I spent over $400. So that's why I'm asking for it to be up. Because we were to the nitty gritty at the end. That's all I have left. And I
All
could
right,
definitely
thanks.
bought more equipment and done more things if I had more money.
Hey, just one more question for future thought, for both you chiefs. Has anybody ever given any thought to combining the two budgets into one, and having one fire department budget?
That'd be something for you guys to discuss and talk
I
about.
think that's what it's,
Would it be
I think
something
that's
you
what
guys
the
would-
commission is
I guess the
working
question-
toward.
my question would
I
be,
guess to that point, has anyone thought about one fire department
well, before we
Answer
get
that,
there,
no.
No,
with two chiefs?
my point, my question would be, would you guys be opposed to one? What's your thoughts on it?
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I
I mean,
think
we're too
the
late in the game this
I
year.
think the
Yeah.
more,
Oh, yeah.
the more we're sharing information, the more we're working together,
Absolutely.
the better it is. You know, along those lines, I have and Chief Baker knows, I'm working on a regional meeting for the chiefs in this area where we're gonna sit down and try and see if we can share vendors.
Okay.
You know, we got multiple departments around here that I know buy Morning Pride.
Yeah.
I think there's probably multiple departments around here that buy Globe. Well, if you can get multiple departments together and buy 50 sets at once, I'm sure you can get a better deal on it, right? If you spec it all out.
Regional buying groups. It's a Canadian thing.
That's absolutely correct. You know, Western Connecticut Chiefs Cooperative.
Well, just food for thought for the future.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's-
something you don't think would work, you know.
No, it's a good idea, or at least till we transition there, the budgets are prepared similarly, like Doug's spreadsheet will start. And everyone starts thinking the same.
The other thing that I'll leave you with a comment on is the way Chief Baker prepared it is way easier.
Yeah.
That system that the town has now, it was tough. We
Well,
went
the
and did
open
it.
gov yet.
It was tough. It opened up, I gotta tell you. It was tough.
Okay.
We may be better off presenting to you with what Chief Baker did. That's way easier for me to navigate. I'll be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah.
And then maybe it gets transferred then to open up if that's the way it's gotta be.
That's familiar for me too, because that's the
And
way I always
yeah.
presented it. It's the way John, you
Yeah.
know, John.
And I'm
did it.
sure Rich, as long as he's been on the board of selectmen, he's familiar with that way.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think it's easier for you gentlemen to look at it and read it.
I would agree with that.
I mean, you know,
I have no problem with that. Then we could translate it to open gov.
and I think that may be a suggestion that works for all of us.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
Second,
all in favor, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Monday.
yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, thank you, Deanna.